Well, it's time now for business news on the news at 10 with Anwar Odo.
You first. First Bank.
Thank you, Gimba. Let's begin tonight with a loading of Nigeria's crude delivery. It has now, for Bonny Light and Focados, the delivery have now been hit by delays for about 1 week following an undisclosed outage which hit a major export pipeline. Reports are saying that the crude flows through the Trans-Focados pipeline were temporarily reduced while the leak was being repaired. The Focados export pipeline terminal, operated by Shell Petroleum Development Company, usually carries between 200,000 and 240,000 barrels of oil per day. In the meantime, Royal Dutch Shell says that it has not declared any force majeure on Bonny Light crude oil export as its key pipeline was shut on February the 28th and it was not impacted. UBA, Nigeria's banking group with the most extensive Pan-African operations, has secured a full wholesale banking license from the United Kingdom Financial Services Authorities, looking to tap into the multi-billion-dollar trade and investment relations between Europe and Africa. The recent unveiling of UBA United Kingdom is coming few weeks after UBA formally opened a new operation in Mali, targeted the West African country's vast cotton industry and trade exports. Channel's business editor, Bosun Omofaye, was in London and now reports on how the group has scaled up on its UK operations and the road ahead for the financial services company.
This is 36 Queen Street in central London, home of the new UBA United Kingdom office and the latest addition to the rapidly expanding footprints of Africa Global Bank, the UBA Group. And the CEO in charge of these wholesale banking operations is Patrick Gottman.
On the back of the strength of the group and the client base and the flows that the group is involved in and how the group is supporting its clients, we believe there's a natural synergy with London and with us here in London.
UBA Group is looking to increase its share of the more than $1 trillion trade and investment flows across Africa and the rest of the developed Western economies, leveraging existing relationships while building new ones.
Before UBA got here, and with the kind of license we had before, it meant that if a business in any of the Anglophone countries is transacting with a partner in England, they have to deal with another bank. But today, with our wholesale license, that is a thing of the past.
Tony Elumelu is the chairman of the UBA Group, and this welcome launch event at the Shard in London was hosted to formally unveil the new UBA UK. So we pulled Tony Elumelu aside for a brief chat. We want to find out if his vision of the UBA Group has now been well fulfilled with the opening of the London operations.
Now we started the second phase of our growth campaign that will take us to at least 30 African countries. And just this month alone, this is the second bank operation we're opening. 4th of February this year, we're in Mali to commission UBA Mali. And same February 28th, last day of the month, we're in London, opening UBA London. We do have aspirations. Our intent is to follow our customers.
Tony Elumelu also says thank you to all who have contributed to the 7th-year growth history of the UBA Group, and in particular,
a strong workforce and those 17 million customers of UBA across the UBA universe in Africa who support us. We owe everything we are, and we have achieved in UBA.
Back on the floor with the dignitaries and other invited guests, this is UBA's Night in London.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the man who was keeping on the press call. Have a great evening.
Bosun Omofaye, Channels Television News.
Well, let's take a look at figures from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It has kicked off the first trading week in the month of March in the green. Exciting news following gains across heavyweight stocks. Ekaite Afia has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The month of March is getting off to a positive start for the stock market as overall equities index ended Monday's trading session higher by 0.95% on renewed bargain hunting activities. Similarly, the total value of NSE listed equities jumped by over 113 billion naira, moving back closer to the 12 trillion naira level. The positive sentiments were as a result of price increases from blue chip components from the banking sector, as well as consumer and industrial goods. The major factor in the banking sector's performance were Tier 1 blue chips, including GT Bank, Zenith, and Access Bank, which lifted the sector by over 2.6%. Meanwhile, the total volume of transactions for the day stands at 228.48 million shares, exchanged in 3,544 deals, worth over 2.61 billion naira. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Akai Teafia.
Thank you, Akaite. Stocks on Wall Street have closed today's session over an hour ago with negative sentiments across board. And negotiations are still on between China and the US. Let's see how they all ended at close of business. Watching Business News tonight, I'm Anne Nwaudo. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Gimba.
You first. First Bank.
Venezuela's opposition leader, Juan Guaido, has returned home to a hero's welcome. He was greeted by thousands of supporters after ignoring a court-imposed travel ban. He did a tour of Latin American countries, trying to boost support for his campaign to oust President Nicolas Maduro. He now runs the risk of arrest for leaving Venezuela. Let's get more of your international news now. Here's Joyce Ohaja, which around the world in 5.
Good evening from London. More than 20 people have been killed in the States after a storm system unleashed a series of catastrophic tornadoes. It's feared the number of victims will still climb as authorities continue to search through the debris. Danny Vucenovic reports.
The tornadoes left a trail of destruction. Wild weather tearing through the states of Alabama, Georgia, Florida and South Carolina. Ferocious winds ripped trees apart. Homes were reduced to piles of rubble. Rescue groups worked through the night, pulling both the dead and injured from the debris. Warnings had been issued. Residents were told to flee.
I got in the car with 4 of my kids, and then my wife left with 2 more.
And where did you guys head to?
Going to my mother-in-law's. We were just trying to get out of this area right here.
The storm's path of destruction stretched for miles. The National Weather Service has confirmed that at least one of the tornadoes had an F3 rating, carrying winds of up to 165 miles per hour. It was at least half a mile wide. Emergency workers now face the grim task of combing through the debris as efforts to identify the victims, some of them children, continue. With many people still missing, authorities are warning that the death toll could climb. Danny Vucenovic, Channels Television News.
Residents in Australia are counting their losses after devastating fires ripped through the state of Victoria. Thousands of people were forced to flee their homes as firefighters battled flames in record-breaking temperatures. The owners of a winery say they were shocked as they watched their property explode on television.
Everything that we've built is gone, and we only know because it was on the news.
So, I don't want to go back. I know I'm going to completely fall apart.
Spain is also grappling with fires. More than 70 are burning in the northwest of the country. Strong gusts of wind are fanning the flames, and a dry winter has exacerbated the problem. The Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, is offering state support to help the autonomous community. An Egyptian photojournalist has been released after 5 years in jail. Mahmoud Abu Zaid, also known as Shorkan, was detained after taking pictures of a protest in 2013. Hundreds of demonstrators were killed during the sit-in when security forces moved in. Now at home with his family, he's vowed to continue his work and says he'll also challenge an order which forces him to spend his nights at a police station for the next 5 years.
I'm not the first journalist to be arrested or killed, and I won't be the last. This is our job. It will affect me because it will kidnap my day from my life. I'm half free. I'm not fully free. I will look for legal ways to stop this. God willing, it will all be all right.
Mass protests have been staged in Algeria over President Abdelaziz Bouteflika's plan to seek re-election. The 82-year-old, who's held office for more than 20 years, has rarely been seen in public since suffering a stroke in 2013. He's thought to be in a hospital in Geneva. He wants to leave on his own terms and has offered to step down after a year if he's returned to power. The Israeli military says 2 Palestinians were shot dead during an attack in the occupied West Bank. They say they opened fire when a car was deliberately driven at troops. A third person in the vehicle was hurt. An Israeli officer was also critically wounded during the incident, and another soldier suffered minor injuries. The chief financial officer of Huawei is suing Canada over her arrest. Meng Wanzhou was detained at Vancouver Airport in December at the request of the United States on suspicion of fraud and breaching U.S. sanctions on Iran. She's filed a civil claim against the government, border agency and police for serious breaches of her rights. And finally, George Michael's art collection is going up for auction. A selection of the singer's items has already gone on display in New York, Hong Kong and Shanghai, ahead of a flagship exhibition in London. The sale includes controversial works by Tracey Emin and Damien Hirst. The proceeds will go to charity to continue his philanthropic work.
What's exciting about this collection in general is many don't know that George Michael was actually a very avid collector and had an important collection of over 200 works of art. He was a very private individual despite his outgoing stage persona. And we're really excited to be able to show this collection in its entirety.
And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Brilliant. Still ahead on the news at 10, Super Eagles technical advisor Gernot Rohr unveils his squad for the final game of the 2019 AFCON qualifier. That's the sports news. Stay with us.